Shiva Mahabali Shiva Adi Anta Shiva Purana Sakala Kaja Hara Hara Mahadeva Shiva 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 Shambhu Bholanatha Yogi 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 Mahadeva Shiva 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 Shambhu Bholanatha Yogi Mahadeva Shiva 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 Shankara Mahabali Shiva Mahabali Mahabali Bali Mahabali Mahabali Shiva Mahabali Shiva Mahabali Bali Mahabali Shiva Adi Shiva Shahara Maha.
So we can now start this process. Professor Ashish Pandey is also here. Welcome, sir. I made him the co-host.
Just मैं 1 minute में अपना वीडियो चालू करूँगा.
And I think I've already made Professor Pati post. And so Professor Rajamukta is also here. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your presence. So,
Great.
thank you. Gomti ji is one of she's a PhD student here at IIM Ranchi.
Namaste,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your presence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your presence. She's an inspiration even at this age. She's committed for a very, rigorous PhD work. Good. That's very good.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you. So what I'll do is I'll just give a brief introduction, and then I'll ask Professor Payal ma'am to actually, she has an announcement to make, and then we can start with it. So here is the formal slide. Yeah. MSR India chapter, as I said, let noble thoughts come to us from every side, from Rigved, one earth, one family, one future. This we have done. So this evening we have the privilege of hearing from His Grace Shri Govinda ji. He's from Bhakti tradition. He'll join us around 10 minutes from now. We have two very distinguished academicians, Professor Ashish Pandey from IIT Bombay and Professor Surya Prakash Pati from IIM Kozhikode. So if it is okay, can I invite Professor Ashish Pandey ji to share his views? So let me first.
No problem.
So
I'll just make the quick announcement, Aditya, with your permission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So
okay.
We've had some MSR researchers, I've just put in the chat this international conference we're organizing with AOM, which is coming to Delhi in January. So a lot of the AOM editors are also coming over, AMD, AMP, AMLE, so we're getting some fantastic facilitators. So, we've received a lot of papers, but people have asked us to extend the date. So the submission date has been extended to September. And we have a best thesis prize of 51,000 rupees and 8 cash prizes for best papers. So I would encourage as many people as possible. So I think for MSR, track 3 is on well-being and track 8 is on general, literature, like leadership and organization, general management. And track 7 is methodological things about methods or something new over there. So I just thought I'd bring that to everybody's attention. Secondly, on a completely different topic, as the special issues editor of JMSR, we are in the process of possibly coming up with a special issue on IKS, Indian Knowledge Systems. So when that becomes a little bit more final, then possibly in the next meeting, I might be able to announce that, but I'm just putting it out there. Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah. So, I can now, if Professor Pandey is there, I can invite him.
Yes.
So,
Okay. Namaste.
Namaste, sir. So I'll just give a brief introduction about Professor Pandey, and yeah,
Sure.
and so he will present his initiatives. He'll present his ideas on initiatives in IKS, Gurukul, Dharmawiki, and beyond. And let me just tell to the viewers about Professor Ashish Pandey. So it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Ashish Pandey. He is a professor at Shailesh J. Mehta School of Management, IIT Bombay. And his teaching and research span organizational development, human resource management, leadership, and the intersection of Indian wisdom with contemporary management. He has published over 50 research papers in leading international journals and co-edited a landmark volume on indigenous Indian management. He is also the co-founder of Dharmawiki and Panch Kosh Wellbeing, initiatives that integrate modern psychology and wellness sciences with the timeless wisdom of yoga and Ayurveda. Today, Professor Pandey will speak on initiatives in Indian knowledge systems, IKS, Gurukul, Dharmawiki, and beyond. Please join me in warmly welcoming Professor Ashish Pandey.
Okay. So thanks, Aditya and Professor Payal Kumar and all the MSR and India chapter active participants for taking this initiative. And so this becomes one more platform where we get to meet our friends, co-travelers, fellow travelers in the field of MSR. So I was going through this discussion and what we thought about, what was the plan. So I think the first 5-6 minutes, as you suggested, we'll talk about our personal journey, and in the second round, probably we'll discuss about these initiatives.
Yes.
So number one means I'm so happy and glad that 3 generations of the students are present at this forum itself. So I'm a student of Professor. I did PhD under the supervision of Professor Rajan Gupta. He is my friend, philosopher, guide, mentor. Then Aditya ji worked with me on his PhD journey. And now, after that, Gajendra is also working closely with me on the journey. And we also have another mentor of all of us, Govinda ji, and the fellow traveler, Pati ji. So, if I say that what is the personal journey, and this forum seems to be very personal as well, because we are not professionally connected, but we are personally connected with each other in this journey. We have kind of been the co-travelers and being mentored by the by Professor Rajan, Professor Govindas, Prabhu Govindas ji, and others. So this is so I wanted to express this special occasion because this is how the academic journeys take place. It's a long work. It is not a very immediate term, short term thing. It requires little long term commitment to the field. And if I may uh, uh, look at how the MSR work has progressed in last 22 years, to be precise, I can feel personally involved in this whole journey. So uh, that's why there will be a lot of first person account, and I will be using. So I remember the second issue of the MSR Journal of MSR in 2004. I still remember the cover page of the MSR Journal of MSR, and remember the interview published in that journal of Kane Wilber. And though I heard about the Kane Wilber and his work uh, through from Professor Rajan Gupta, the first time I had a chance to look at his work from the perspective of management, it was published in the Management Journal. The way currently the form and shape of MSR journal at that time and the journal how it looks like today, and it is so special that Aditya ji is one of the associate editors of that journal. Uh, what can be more heartening? Uh, so that's why I said this is as much an academic work as it's a personal kind of journey. So there is one thing I wanted to share about. It's a reflection of the personal journey. What young scholars and people who have just started their journey as a researcher in this field, if I may share some of the things which have helped me to continue to be in this on this path with all my imperfections and limitations. Uh, One thing I can say about myself in this scholarly work on many things, like any human being, I would be having my own limitations. But one thing I am sure about myself is that I have never lost the energy and motivation to pursue this field. So my limitations have not demotivated me. Uh, uh, my limitations have only motivated me to work further, learn more, be a better person. Because this human being, this ourself, our mind is the instrument uh, in this journey. How it can translate to a suggestion for the consideration of the young scholars is that uh, most of the papers, in fact, all papers of mine, have actually originated from my personal experience and personal engagement in the field. So uh, that's why it has not been a painful process. It has been a joyful discovery process. So even if you are not able to make it to the really Academy of Management Journal, I couldn't make it to the Academy of Management Journal yet, or Administrative Science Quarterly. The joy we get in the process is immense. So I would like to trade off the joy of the work with the really top-notch publications. Our team has not been bad enough either. We have published in some A papers and all that also has happened. But since all the work has originated based on my personal struggle, so a spiritual climate or first series of papers on the spiritual climate, spirituality at workplace, all actually arose from my quest, my angst, or my struggle with finding meaning and purpose in my work. So I left the corporate world, joined some academics, then joined PhD program. It was a search for the personal meaning and purpose at work, and that so initial papers were like that, and then from 2011 12, I got more into the personal sadhana, the Ashtanga Yoga. Thanks to my mentors and gurus, I learned great things from the art of living, from the inner engineering. incorporated those Baba Ramdev ji's teachers training program. So all those things have helped me in journey in shaping my kind of self and nurturing myself. So naturally, my research is shifted from the spirituality at workplace, karma yoga, to mindfulness and yoga and positive psychology. Then, at some point of time, the mental health, stress, well-being of the young students, that became a question. It had become my question as well, my concern as well. So after that, again, 5, 6 papers became more into that in that field, values of well-being of the youth, all. I have a personal commitment to the Art of Living organization or Inner Engineering or Baba Ramdev ji's organization because I have learned many things. All my yogic training has happened through these three schools. So I feel a personal commitment to do whatever minimum I can do. In that journey, I got into contact somebody from the research team of the Art of Living Foundation came to my office. Aditya ji was searching for his topic, and they said that there is something interesting, very phenomenal, very impactful work has happened in eastern part of India in some in a dock and in the form of the Harmony program. I looked at Aditya ji and I checked, would you like to come along and do a field work? He readily agreed, and we traveled there. Aditya ji spent 5, 6 days in interviewing a lot of people. When he came back and when we conceptualized what is actually happening here, and then it became clear that what is happening here is the healing process. And then the whole research program of healing took place, took off, and I'm so glad that Aditya ji has taken it to the really very very good level. So it was only the case study, which was a qualitative work, and then he continued in this journey, and then so all this is a personal quest with the uh, societal intent, not the universal intent, but the societal and the scholarly intent. Uh, and that can be really helpful for all the scholars present here to look at their work, and that that is one thing which I can offer from myself, and that is my personal question, and that probably can be useful to remain joyful in the journey. And when you are joyful, you can learn more, you can accept your limitations, and I still keep working on how to surpass. That's a personal note. More about the Dharmawiki and other things I can share if time permits.
Thank you, Professor. And it was a pleasure to work on the project and to work with you. The organizational healing actually came from, like you said, likewise, and because I had worked in corporate, and so you know, what I really liked about that journey was that you encouraged me to go beyond the usual P value approach or something, and we actually decided to do a theory extension work, and which was, I'm very glad to share with the audience that even the person whose work we critiqued, Professor Polly, he actually called and he said that he's very pleased that we have critiqued it, and this shows his generous nature, and he is now we are working on this on a chapter in which you know on a revised book chapter. So we are discussing on that part, how to incorporate the new. We critiqued him mercilessly, but he took it very positively. So that's about the scholarship of MSR. So now I would first of all to the audience. Now this we have invited His Grace Govinda ji, so that you guys can interact a lot, and therefore with Govindas Prabhuji's permission, I would just ask Professor Pati to speak his piece, and then I'll open the floor to Govindas Prabhuji. and then I think we'll open it to audience, and then because I've been told by many friends in MSR and seniors, they really want to interact. And I'm sure Prabhuji will, after Govindaji makes his opening remarks, and there will be a lot of queries and a lot of questions. And I want that is the unique feature of MSR India. We'll always try to invite spiritual leaders and not only us academicians. With all regards to Professor Pandey and Professor Rajan Gupta ji, we'll invite, and this was a suggestion from them only, that we should invite religious leaders also. So may I now invite Professor Pati ji to speak. So let me just share. Right.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you very much. And actually, Namaste, Pandey sir. It's lovely seeing you after a long time. And I remember the first time we met in Vancouver. And during that time, MSR division was not a division, it was an interest group. And we both were also presenting in the same, session. And yes, so it was amazing. So this is you want me to speak right away, or just just an introduction right now? Just an introduction, right? Just like Pandey sir. Or yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will not take a lot of time because I was also there in the last session, that the first session when we all met, the MSR India chapter's first session. So very briefly, always I was excited about spirituality because of the background that I was fortunate enough to get involved with. I studied under the divine auspices of Sri Satya Sai Baba for 7 years. So my +2, if that is +2 is higher secondary school, if I can use that +1 and +2, 11th and 12th standard. And then he said to study and not go outside for any engineering and medicine, study here. So I studied my BSc chemistry, then I completed my MSc chemistry. After some time, when you are with a divine master, you just study anything to stay with him. That's the thing. So you don't really worry about your discipline, and that happened till one fine day this all gets over, and then I went and worked for some time in Dr. Reddy's laboratory as a scientist, where I didn't enjoy the scientific journey at all there in an industrial setup. Fortunately, I got into IIM Lucknow for my PhD in HRM, OB and HRM. And from there, I got a chance to dive deep into the research and spirituality. In IIM, unfortunately, I didn't, or fortunately, I didn't straight away enter into spirituality as Professor Pandey, said, or he had an opportunity to. But I was working somewhere in the fringe areas of employee engagement. And it is not directly spirituality, it is very, sort of packaged version. And that time, I remember only 4 papers were there when I was working. So I can still cite them, Sachs and, your Shafali and, your Khan. And yes, so these are the papers. And yeah, so I worked. And then after some time, when I got into IIM Kozhikode, that is way back in 2012. It gave me the freedom to start exploring what I always wanted to, right? There was a background of reading the Bhagavad Gita, and there was a background of learning the Upanishads, chanting the Upanishads, but but more than the chanting, even the understanding of it. So some background, not completely, just exposed to, and it is purely rote learning in some point of time. And they will not force you there, but when you chant almost every day, you end up remembering a few verses, and that sort of spontaneously comes about. But entering deep into this came only after I entered in 2012. Fortunately, I also had a student, Ashish and Rastogi, and he also was excited about it. And then together we explored the Karma Yoga paper, the Karma Yoga construct. That is where we met Professor Pandey in Vancouver. That was, and then we worked for some time in Karma Yoga. Then life happened, and that what life happened is that is the part of the second talk. But I'm so glad to be associated with this with the group. Um, in AOM, I keep on shuffling here and there because I remember only two divisions you can be a member, and because of student interest, somewhere sometimes they put it in or OB division, sometime in HR division, sometime in the history division. Last year it was in history division, but somewhere in the back of the mind, and always MSR was always dear to heart. And I always, sort of used to read the papers that come from the MSR. Professor Payal is there, Professor Pandey, of course, and I think Sir Navare, right? He is your student, and he's a very dear friend. I think he's in IIM Jammu. He was in IIM Jammu, and he also sort of went forward, and so that is where we are connected. The papers were there. I'm so glad we transcended this boundary of a paper, and we are here meeting as a community, and that is where the beauty is, and where we can share and sort of possibly help each other finally stay on the path. And that I sort of envision how this particular group is. So I'll not take more time, more when we talk, but yeah, this is my brief introduction.
Thank you, Professor Patiji. And yeah, we will discuss much more on these topics. I'll now invite His Grace Govindas Prabhuji, who has a tremendous influence on my academic as well as personal life, and my initiation and my actually realizing that I'm more attuned to Bhakti is because of association with him. So in one of the MSR colloquium, actually, I had invited him way back. So thank you so much for your time, Govindaji. I'll just give an introduction of Govind Prabhuji. He's a renowned spiritual author, educator, mentor, and motivational speaker who has devoted nearly 3 decades to Vedic education and counseling. Drawing upon the wisdom of the Upanishads, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Bhagavatam, he has inspired audiences across the world by making timeless dharmic principles relevant to contemporary life. He is the author of several acclaimed books, including Money and Mahabharata, Karna on Trial, and Little Yogi in the Modern City. He has also played a pioneering role in establishing innovative education initiatives and mentoring individuals ranging from children and families to corporate and social leaders. I requested him to speak on a provocative topic of I am spiritual but not religious, but I don't want to contain Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so this is a gathering of people who are interested in this slightly non-mainstream management spirituality religion. So this is certainly not mainstream MBA stuff. So please feel free to discuss, and you can discuss longer than the 2 professors, and then we'll open it for a discussion, and then I'll come back to the 2 professors if the time permits. So please, the floor is all yours, Govind Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditya ji. Thank you, Ashish ji, and thank you, Surya ji. This is my great honor to be here with Aditya. Know him since Dr. Raju Malhotra ji. We worked together, and it was a great journey. So, in the Bharatiya context, when we talk from the Bharatiya Drishtikon, the perspective of Bharat, it's a redundant to say, I am not religious but spiritual. No, that proves that there is no depth in this statement. Because consciously or unconsciously, the language what we are speaking, and along with that, the influence of the Abrahamic concept, we try to distinguish between religion and spirituality. In the Bharatiya Drishtikon, the Bharatiya perspective, the concept of religion is not there. Dharma is there. Dharma and Adhyatma is there. Right. So therefore, in the Shrimad Bhagavatam, it is so beautiful, makes it very clear when dharma is not married to, when Shraddha is faith, when faith is not married to dharma, it gives rise to violence. It gives rise to inauspiciousness. Now, dharma, when we study Mahabharata, when we study Ramayana, these are not faith-centric granthas or books. They are dharma-centric. If you see any debates, whether it is television debate, among the religious leader debates, or the academic debates, they make dharma, religion, faith interchangeable. That is one of the greatest flaw. Because dharma is the foundational idea. It is the force which integrates. Shraddha is there, but Shraddha without dharma gives rise to limitless inauspiciousness. The same Srimad Bhagavatam in the third canto explains, it says Shraddha, which is flavored with Rajo and Tamoguna. What does it do? It gives violence. It is an irony more than anybody in this world, political violence, caste violence, capital violence, all these violence do exist. But the violence created by the religion beats everyone else. There is a famous atheist, but extremely influenced by Indian thought process, Sam Harris. He wrote a book called as End of Faith. And he is not follower of any Indian system, like he has a guru in some organization, institution. Is an independent scholar. In his book, he mentions the great dangers of faith-centric religion without dharma. Right? He has not read the Bhagavatam, but he is expanding the idea of Bhagavatam by presenting statistics. I remember I was in New Jersey giving discussing with some interfaith conference. There we discussed, we have to accept this reality that religion has caused greatest violence. In the political violence, in the caste violence, you have some guilt. But in the religious violence, we justify the violence. If you talk to the terrorist, if you talk to the crusaders, they will say, this is what we are designed to do. There is no regret. So therefore, when faith comes into the picture, what does it do? When Shraddha, when dharma comes into the picture, dharma is not driven by Shraddha. Dharma has flavor of Shraddha, but that Shraddha is very personal. I remember one counselor, very nice lady, mentor. She passed away. She was a career counselor, but very much grounded in Indian thought. Common sense, limitless common sense she had. One day she told me, you know what? Swartha means selfishness. Whether selfishness related to materialism or spirituality, both are dangerous. I was taken aback. I just kept silent. And there was another professor. I would ask people to read his books. Dr. Narayanacharya. And he is one of the main inspiration for Dharmawiki. We have his talks also. He passed away a few years ago from Karnataka. He mentioned very nice point. He said, whether for the sake of religion or sake of materialism, if you become a Hitler, it is still dangerous. authoritarian religiosity or authoritarian materialism is dangerous. It doesn't matter your intention, it matters the process, right? It is dangerous. And then he mentioned that when religion becomes authoritarian, by very nature, religious authoritarian, dharma is not like that. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, from the bhakti perspective, Krishna is Arjuna's Ishtadev. But from dharma perspective, Krishna is simply facilitating Arjuna the laws of nature. As the follower of, bhakti cult Vaishnavism, I see Krishna in two ways. One is as a devotee of Krishna loving him, and as a follower of dharma, understanding the laws of nature. Following Krishna is a personal inner journey, and following dharma is the foundational reality for the legacy of life. Unfortunately, what we see about Bhagavad Gita, the modern Bhagavad Gita, many commentaries focus on the philosophy rather than dharma. No, there are debates, there are challenges, there are fights. Which is greater, Dvaita, Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, right? We focus so much on those debates, but life is more like Arjuna rather than the different path of Vedic philosophy. We forget to become Arjunas and we try to imitate Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya. Arjuna is a reality. And therefore, after hearing this lady, I was fully involved in spiritual activities, which she said is pure selfish. There is nothing wrong about it. But when you add dharma to that, then what does it do? It creates a harmony. I remember during the Dharmawiki inauguration, I was part of the panel. And I learned this from some teachers. There are 4 components for human existence. One is dharma. What does dharma say? Dharma is the universal principle. Right? There is no prejudice for dharma. You could be American, you could be Canadian, you could be South American. Dharma is a universal principle. When you see that universal principle, you bow down to that universal principle. It is true Nirakar. Dharma is the true Nirakar. It has no prejudice based upon where you are born. Just like in the Mahabharata, it didn't matter to Krishna, Bhishma being his devotee, he was still punished because he was supporting adharma. There is no such prejudice. Gita is not a book of Shraddha. Mahabharata battle is not because of Shraddha, it is because of governance. Ghatotkacha was the family member of the Pandavas. When he was killed, Krishna celebrated his death. Arjuna said, why are you doing this? Krishna said, doesn't matter, because ultimately he may be your family but is adharmic. So Krishna has no prejudice in regards to being Krishna's devotee. If he is not dharmic, publicly he will be punished. Privately, there may be some facility. So dharma is the universal principle which unites people. And the second idea is Rashtra. Right? However much people say Rashtra is a human construct, but without definite boundaries, people cannot function. There cannot be a global village. There has to be limitation from one nation to another nation. And therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam again defines Bharata not based upon dynasties. In the 5th canto, Shukadeva Goswami explains, The Bharata is defined based upon collection of rivers and mountains. The Pakistan is claiming the Sindhu Nadi as their original heritage. They are forced, they are being caught up in their own game now. When you claim Sindhu as your own, you are unconsciously, consciously declaring that you are a Bharatiya. Sometime the Nepal, out of political compulsion, try to, plays game with Bharat. But when they sit for the puja, how do they start? Bharata Varshe, Bharata Kande, Nepal Deshe. You cannot avoid that. You're caught there. This is a powerful principle. So Rashtra is the more localized, right? Whether you are from Kerala or you are from Tamil Nadu, you still chant Bharata Varsha. Cannot avoid that. It's integrated, culturally integrated. The third reality is Sanskriti. Dharma, Rashtra and Sanskriti. Naturally, Sanskriti is diverse. Kannada Sanskriti will have difference from even the neighboring state of Maharashtra. There are many uniformity and there are many distinction also. As the water changes, the food habit also changes. The way people dress, it changes. The Mysore Kannadiga, I'm a Kannadiga, they speak differently than the North Kannadigas. Right? If you go to North India, many languages. So the culture is more private. And Shraddha is extremely individual. But what happened, unfortunately, even the Hindus, they imitated the concept of Shraddha like the Abrahamic religion, made it more modern, became more aggressive. They chose the path of preaching rather than experiencing. Shraddha is not to be imposed. Shraddha is meant to be experienced. When Shraddha becomes imposed, I tell my many friends, he said, sometime many Hindu path have become Christianized Vaishnavas, Christianized Shaivas, Christianized Shaktas. Rather than experiencing, we are imposing on others. When we stop imposing, make Shraddha more private and make Dharma more public, and when the Rashtra Bhakti, Rashtra Seva, one of the component of many spiritual organization is to deny the importance of Rashtra. No, we are not interested in Rashtra, we are interested in Adhyatma. Now your Adhyatma is founded in the principle of Rashtra. Even the great Shukdev Goswami, who would walk around completely unclothed, he is speaking in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, the greatness of Bharat. Right? So therefore, Rashtra, Dharma, Sanskriti and Shraddha, when they are integrated, we become yogi. When they are not integrated, then the roga of exclusivity, roga of speciality, roga of toxic nation comes into the picture. And therefore, one who knows little of Bharatiyata, I remember talking to one famous retired Air Force officer who was involved in some of the biggest strikes. He came to IIT Mumbai, Dhananjay Vaniji. He mentioned to me, he said, the Bharatiya soldier, if he studies Dharma, he understands how the nationhood of Bharata is different from toxic European nationhood. He said, why we fight? We do not fight for expanding our land. We fight for maintaining our strong value. And what is our value? Atiti Satkar. So to celebrate Atiti Satkar, we have to be powerful. If you are not powerful to celebrate Atiti Satkar, then that very Atiti will destroy us. Like I'll conclude in the Ramayana, Lord Ramachandra chose to give shelter to Vibhishan. And everybody opposed. Sugriv, Jambavan, everybody said we can't, because if he's betraying his own brother, how is it possible that we give him shelter? But Lord Ramachandra decided, I will give him shelter. Valmiki Maharshi explains, when Lord Ramachandra decided to give shelter, Sugriv raised meaningful question. He said, my dear Lord, if we give shelter, what if he betrays and destroys us? Lord Ramachandra said, with my one thumb, I can destroy entire universe. So therefore, compassion needs capacity. When the capacity is not there for compassion, that very compassion becomes very destructive. Therefore, Bharatiya Dharma, Bharatiya Adhyatma is not simply pure feminine in nature. Kindness, compassion, forgiveness. These are personal qualities for one's spiritual advancement. But when it comes dharma, what does it do? It is aggressive. It has the power to create limitless violence. And that is what Mahabharata symbolizes. That very playful God Krishna, right? Pure feminine, also has the Sudarshan Chakra. Right? And that we have forgotten, unfortunately. We talk less about it. When the masculinity, the dharmic masculinity is minimized, then that very femininity becomes toxic also. Therefore, dharma and shraddha, adhyatma and dharma. When adhyatma and dharma is there, religion has no place in Bharatiyata. If people understand this, then the question of, oh, I'm spiritual but not religious, such a dumb statement disappears from our dictionary. Thank you for your kind attention. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And as soon as you've stopped, queries have started pouring in. Very good. Raja is here. Raja, welcome. Please go ahead, Raja. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Aditya ji. Namaste, Govinda. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you very much for those wise words. I seem to understand what you said. Everything is connecting, but there are some questions which immediately came to my mind. And I will just say that the way they come to me. You said that Shraddha cannot be imposed. It's a quality, it's a matter of practice. I agree. But even if you look at our traditional practices, that if I go to a teacher for spiritual education, or if I'm doing my own practices, I am imposing something on myself, right? So how do we differentiate this? This is the first question. The second question is that you are right in the definitions which you have provided in terms of what is bhakti in the Hindu tradition, and I completely agree with you. But I think it's a practical problem that if you talk to any average Indian, including my mother and my grandmother, it's a colonial effect, as in we have all. It's a knowledge which we received from the previous generations who were influenced by the colonial rule, and I don't think we can go back in time. So I don't think we can go back in time and say that no, Indian belief system is this. So naturally, if I am talking to someone who is younger, or someone, even including me, people, generation of mine, if we say, what is India? We talk about our values as we know today. Now, would it be practical to say that, would it be practically right, even not only from an academic point of view, but also from a practitioner's point of view, that this is the only Indian way? But I mean, based on my understanding, Hinduism adopts every practice. No matter what you do, you are a Hindu. No matter what you do, you are a Hindu by default. And if that is the case, we do not have to argue that Indian philosophy is different. Isn't it right? Could you please clarify? Maybe these are very fundamental
The
questions.
first one, can you come back to the first one? I just lost the first one.
Yes. So yeah, I hope I understood what you're saying correctly. You said that Shraddha cannot be imposed. Now, the way imposition, I mean, if I'm practicing Shraddha, that's also an imposition. It's imposition I make on myself. It doesn't, not everyone is blessed to get Shraddha by nature. There are some disciplines which you have to do. Now, in the event where I am not able to do it, or where it is essential for me to do it, there is a teacher or a mother or a father or a friend or a guru like you who will impose that rule. Or this imposition may not be like a rule, but
Correct.
they guide you. It is still an imposition. Now, how do we bring this conflict in my mind together?
Yeah, therefore Shraddha, see the word Shraddha, when we see, then again when we go, because there are intellectuals here, see, like when we study the general mass, as long as there is Shraddha, because Shraddha is an important principle in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaks about 3 kinds of Shraddha. Shraddha in Sattva, Shraddha in Raja, and Shraddha in Tamoguna. So Shraddha is never undermined or minimized. But when that Shraddha, becomes violent in nature, exclusive in nature, that has to be handled carefully. One of the Bhakti literature called as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the author explains Adav Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Tata Bhajana Kriya. It begins with Shraddha, because unless that Nishpapata, when the child puts that faith in the father and mother, we cannot say, your father also has some defect, your mother also has some defect. That is counterproductive to the growth of the child, because the child has to see flawlessness in the mother and father. As the child grows, then that bhakti, the knowledge-centric bhakti, first it begins with simple sentiments, then as the knowledge grows, that Shraddha becomes paripakwa, it becomes very mature, it becomes more sattva-centric. So therefore, as I said, the Bhagavatam explains when Shraddha is married to Dharma. Without Shraddha, there is no connection to, your spiritual experience. That's very much important. And as you are surrounding with your family, your friends, you will present that. Like Arjuna heard from Krishna, without that Shraddha, Arjuna could have not been submissive to Krishna. But then it was the responsibility of Krishna himself saying that, Arjuna, I have spoken to you. Now it is up to you to follow or not. Yatechasi tatapuru. Right? Therefore, when this Shraddha, as you mentioned in the second question, adaptation, overlapping, wherever those principles are there, wherever they are there, if they are healthy and helping us to grow, then absolutely it's not a problem. But as I said, unfortunately, if you study, the innocent Shraddha can be hijacked by wrong people and create violence towards others. When there is a large number of people, and they have a wrong leader who uses their Shraddha for hijacking for their advantage, that creates violence. Otherwise, innocent Shraddha in a smaller group, a satsang, it has much more healthier and deeper when a family comes together. Like I remember this Dr. Naranacharya mentioning, he said, spiritual organizations were created to build families, not build institution at the cost of families. Very profound. All right. Therefore, in Sanatan Dharma, again, experience of holy places, Tirthasthan, you don't have to go to holy place. You can experience holy place in your home. That the rule is not there. Therefore, it is decentralized. So decentralized Adhyatma requires personal practice. Therefore, if you see the Vipras, the Brahmanas, the Purohit, they had less students to take care of, so that they can give personal attention, help them grow nicely. So, but because now the Hinduism requires, because we are a global, to prove certain credibility, because people want to see, bigger organization, bigger institution that attracts the younger generation. But eventually, if they're connected to the personal reality, then that is very good for their spiritual and dharmic health.
I'll just interrupt in between. Sunilji, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So Govindji Pranam, first of all, whatever you said was sheer music. It is like River Ganges in Haridwar.
Thank you.
Very nice, very beautiful. And I found answers to many questions which I had for last, 30 years. So I have two questions. My questions are short, though they have some background. One is this concept of Rashtra, which you said. Now, the background which I want to tell you is that I served in Ministry of Defense and my job was foreign cooperation with the navies of Europe and America. So we would have a lot of meetings where, their officers would come, our bureaucrats would be together, and it used to be a group of very learned intellectuals. One of the common, assertion or common statement which Westerners make about India is that India is not a nation. It is more of a civilization. That is why you have a dissipated tendencies, Kashmir wants to go away, Northeast wants to go, whatever. But what I was amazed is our own concept of Rashtra. What is the meaning of Rashtra? Okay. So though I did some research and found something in Arthashastra which defines it much better than what is there in, there. But what I wanted to know is, where is this concept of Rashtra Dharma explained in detail in any of the Indian commentaries or, books or anything?
Yeah, in the Anushasana Parva and Shanti Parva of Mahabharata, there is a great description of Rashtra Dharma.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Mahabharata.
Mahabharata, Shanti Parva.
Yeah, Shanti and Anushasana Parva. Again, unfortunately, because everything is seen, Rashtra is seen by the Western people from the political perspective. Very, very purely political perspective.
Yes.
But if you study Rashtra from Arthashastra of Chanakya's Arthashastra, or from the Mahabharata and Ramayana also, Rashtra, in fact, Indra, in the Upanishad, it is explained that why is called as Indra is called as Purandara also. One name of Indra is Purandara. The word Purandara means when the city or a town, Pura, is not manageable, then he cuts into two parts. Because if the city becomes so impersonal in regards to interaction with each other, he said cut into two parts. The personal interaction, has to be deeper. Like if you go to village, unfortunately, the village is also dying. But in the village, when there is a marriage ceremony, it is not managed by some outside people. The marriage is managed by the villagers only. They take turns. So whether it is cremation, whether it is marriage, whether it is temple, the entire village comes together. Right? So therefore, the Rashtra from the Bharatiya Drishtikon, is more cultural unity. Whether you go to Sindh, Pakistan, now it is Pakistan, there will be a Krishna temple. Or if you go to the remote Kerala, Krishna is worshipped. Even though one may say historically Krishna is North Indian. However much people try to say in Tamil Nadu especially, these are not our gods. But even Karunanidhi's name is connected to Lord Vishnu only, Karunanidhi. So that cultural Rashtriyata, that's what that army officer told me. He said, we don't have a toxic nation. Eventually, for that matter, when the culture becomes much stronger from a political perspective there is a much more autonomous to the states, not to become a separate country, saying that we have nothing to do with Hinduism, we have nothing to do with Sanatana Dharma. That is detrimental to their own existence also. Right? So that is the beauty of a dharmic nation.
Second short question is, they say that you say dharma is important and what we should do is swadharma.
Yeah.
We should follow swadharma. What is the interpretation of swadharma? Let's say if I'm a teacher, where is it interpreted? What is the dharma for teacher? It is present personal interpretation, or is it given in some books, or how do you find it?
Yeah.
Because what we see presently is, people, we have followed again Western concept of leadership. So even academic world wants to want to follow the leadership way. I read one document of Ministry of Education.
I am becoming little
What-
anxious at the moment because this discussion has been started, but there are some questions as well. So since you have asked the two questions, if you can
Yeah, I'll
articulate the
answer.
question. Yeah, yeah.
I'll
I'll
answer.
just
Then
close it now.
Gomti,
Okay.
then the Gomti ji has another question. So I'm
Sunilji,
just concerned about.
Okay, I close it.
in the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about this question was raised by Arjuna. One famous commentator gives, when Arjuna said, "Who decides my dharma? Who decides my swadharma?" Krishna said, "Nobody. Anybody decides as an agenda." He said, "Who decides my dharma? My prakriti, my swabhava." And that is what the Gurukul was. The Guru had no other project other than helping children discover. Now, many Gurukuls are run based upon project centric. Children become kind of a workforce. And the Gurukuls actually, and that we have seen, we run some kind of Gurukul where we find when children are given that facility, they they discover their self and they actually have the courage to walk to their Swadharma. Basically, disposition. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you could exchange your email, we could ask some questions.
Yeah.
But this is extremely short time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Sir, may I
Yeah,
may I ask?
Gomti, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I think it
Be-
was enlightening. I am a beginner in this whole journey, and my humble question here is that when you were beautifully explaining about dharma, sir, my question was, isn't dharma actually unbounded and universally applicable? If so, doesn't it cause a tension with the concept of rashtra? And shouldn't dharma, if at all we are aiming to have a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, expand? And how does that expansion happen? Ultimately, the entire system of dharma is controlled by entities, that is human beings with ahankara, right? So how do we balance all this? And
therefore there is a continuous dharma sankat. The Bhagavad Gita talks about the entire what does Arjuna represent? Arjuna represent that sankata, that conflict. So therefore Mahabharata expects it. Yudhishthir is the personification of dharma. He is not dharmic person. He is a dharma personified. Even he has a conflict. So that is an accepted reality because the prakriti allows us, or the design of prakriti is dvandva, a duality. Therefore dharma is very fluid and flowing.
okay.
No, you cannot make it concrete. But at the same time, what does Rashtra do? For the sake of practicality, infinity is dangerous for most people. Ordinary people cannot handle infinity. We are all ordinary people. We need structure. And that structure, again controlled by dharma, it creates less damage compared to more damage. Damage will be there. Rashtras will create damage. Sanskriti will create damage. Faith will create damage. But with dharma, it becomes less and more benefit. And without Rashtra, without Shraddha, without Sanskriti, that infinity is confusing, chaotic, and destructive, and very scary also. So therefore, to be Advaitian, you need to be practicing Dvaita also. They are not contradictory. They are complementary. Like I was talking to somebody, when you are so attached to being a mother, that creates trouble because you have a power beyond being a mother also. Mother is like a small pond. Wife is like a small pond. Daughter is like a small pond. Friend is like a small pond. But dharma is infinite. But to experience that dharma, we need some role in this world.
Thank you, sir.
Even Avatar also basically takes that human role. Otherwise, the material world, without that finite reality.
In a boundedness.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gomti. I would like to invite Professor Ashish Pandey. to give his concluding remarks, and then Professor Patiji, and you feel free to whatever you want to say. There's no specific. Yeah, and then maybe we'll take some more queries. Yeah.
So, since the original plan was that initially we can talk about our personal journey and then we can share something about our projects. So I'll just take few minutes to share some of those projects which have been close to my heart, and uh, I want to share. Some of you might find it useful or interesting. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, you can share it, sir. I think you are a co-host. I'll just check.
Only the host can share the screen.
Just a minute. So I'll make you co-host. And yeah. Please try now, sir. Please.
Oh. Yeah. So I'll share 3 projects which you might find interesting, and many of you have. These are according to the chronology. Just 1 minute. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So one is this Dharmawiki, dharmawiki.org, which
No slides are visible. I just want to tell you.
yeah, I'm wondering, lost the. Okay, so I think we can go ahead without any slide. The icon of the Zoom has disappeared from my screen. So, so 3 things I would like to share. One is the dharmawiki.org. Maybe Gajendra, you can please uh, write that link on the chat, in the chat box. The dharmawiki.org was started with the blessings of and support of Govind Prabhuji, and this there is a uh, there is a, you can say, uh, history for it, and personal emotional aspect. I'm not going to share that, we don't have time for that, but the fact is that it is up and running since last 10 years, 7 8 years, at 8 years certainly, and it has about 1,000 articles, and uh, in the in the in this we have incorporated a scholarly description, a scholarly representation of the Indian concepts, Indian thoughts, because we realize, we notice that Sanatan Dharma and the Indian cultural nuance is not well captured, or sometimes even deformed in the Wikipedia. So this is one thing you may like to look at. Another thing is I have a course. There is a platform, Swayam platform, an NPTEL course. So this is the government Ministry of Education sponsored NPTEL, National Program for Technology Enabled Learning, and Swayam platform, which has a lot of big repository of a lot of courses. In that, there is one course which is offered by myself. It is Yoga and Positive Psychology for Managing Career and Life. It is offered in every semester, both the semesters. And last semester, about 10,000 plus students registered, and about 1,900 plus people actually appeared for the exam, passed it, and all that. So this is second thing. Some of you might find it interesting and useful. Third is to look at the well-being and tracking and supporting. We have in our team developed the Panchakosha Wellbeing.in. Panchakosha Wellbeing is a platform for adults, meaning people 16 years plus age, to assess their well-being, track it, and the interventions are provided. It is a continuously developed, it is getting developed further and more. So These are the three things: panchakoshavellbeing.in, NPTEL course on yoga and positive psychology for managing career and life, and dharmawiki.org. Depending on your interest, you can have a look at those, and most welcome to get associated with those. So Dharmawiki is something which you can contribute if you are passionate about some ideas, and if you have some scholarly work and interest, want to add the article, you're most welcome to get back to us, and we'll be happy to host your article if it is according to the format. There's some guidelines, some format like any other platform. So we'll have a look at it. And of course, everybody can register, and if you are interested, you can pursue that course as well. So yeah, these are the few information I thought of sharing with all of you. And these are the ways as well to continue our interaction.
Thank you, Professor Pandey. Thank you so much. Each of these initiatives actually cover related but also some different areas for those who are more inclined on scholarly work, who would like to. So they can contribute in Dharmawiki, Panchkosha well-being. That is more
Is
about.
Aditya mute, or am I? It is
No,
only me who is not able to listen, or
am I audible?
Yes. Some problem over here.
Okay. So may I now invite Professor Pati ji to give his views on. So, Professor Pati ji, please.
Yeah. So thank you. It is very that's what I said, daunting to come after amazing speaker like Govinda and then Professor Pandey. But I will just limit it to a very simple thing: how to sort of practice spirituality in academic life. So a lot of reflection has gone on this, and it's purely my personal journey. And I will try to be very quick, just giving you two or three things. Maybe you will resonate, maybe you will not, or maybe you will also find your own way. Right? The practice of spirituality or Shraddha, as you know, to borrow from the very learned speaker before, is very personal. But maybe it will be sort of something to take away or something to resonate. So as I mentioned, this is where this happened, in 2015. And then this also went as a paper, in IMBA Management Review. But the event is not important. What happened after the event became very important. After the event, I felt very detached. I felt very unhappy. Suddenly, it is as if, this is what is going on. I felt empty, if I can use that word. So I thought the entire research on spirituality will be a process of joy and fulfillment. But unfortunately, it was not. In the olden times when I remember whenever we had a problem, I used to run to Puttaparthi, to my master. And this is what typically used to happen. That is me with Sri Satya Sai Baba, once upon a time. I don't even have the time stamp in him, and he will listen. But the point is, 2011, he had left the body, as we said, Mahasamadhi. And then there is no one to really run to. And then I realized very clearly that I never ever paid attention to his teaching. Right? In Odia, we have a term called Deepatala Andhar, means under the lamp, it's completely darkness. So the entire time that you spend there, you want to be physically close to the master or physical proximity. And in this entire physical proximity game, you end up sort of not learning what exactly he is trying to teach here. So the point is, that this is the dark night of the soul. It was actually there, and but then unfortunately, there was no master around to sort of pull you out or even have a conversation with. But so this photograph's actually not of any help. But something happened in 2016, and we actually held a conference, not a conference, it's actually a management development program for school teachers, and I was one of the coordinators there. And somehow my own teacher actually came, Professor Uday, not professor, in school teacher, you don't call them professor. You just call them Uday Kumar sir. And he was there. He was a teacher at Prashant Nilayam when I was a student. And I remember after the conference, we all went to the beach in Kozhikode, by Kozhikode city. And this is something what the conversation happened. I actually told him, sir, I'm feeling disconnected with my work. and I feel drained and tired. It's AI generated, but this is the summary of the conversation. He said, you should expand yourself by serving. He has come from the tradition of serving. In Prashanti Nilayam, it was a completely free education there that we all of us got. So it's all about serving. Everybody just serves. So you should expand yourself by serving, not contract yourself by accumulating. So the point is, I understood all these papers and everything. Suddenly, they had become a part of your a signpost of where you are or who you are, and that unfortunately had taken away this entire focus in growing spiritually. Again, one the learned speaker said, experience of spirituality from trying to position that I can do something called spiritual research. That was draining. Then he said, who has ever benefited because of you? Ask yourself. And even the students pay for the learning you supposedly give. So everything is a transaction. What is really, a beneficial who? Then we had a long conversation, and then based on the long conversation, then he gave me a very practical definition of purity. In Bhagavad Gita, the purity, is very well defined. Absence of raga and dvesha, lust and greed should actually not be there. We are ordinary human beings. Lust, greed will be there, and of course we will fight it. But then he gave a very practical definition. The pursuit of purity, according to him, you were there before your achievements. Actually, you brought in their achievements. So you are not your achievements. Equating your value to some collection is diminishing yourself. This is also true for others. That is, don't say that, I have so many papers, or I have so many, what a big house, or big car, or I have arrived here. You have not done anything. All this has come after your existence, after you're born. So you are, of course, more important than them. And because they have come, they can also go away. So you are not your achievements. Also, let your work enhance another life force. The concept of prana, he actually redefined it for me. It's called life force. So someone must breathe easy because of you. That is all. So who is breathing easy because of you? So all this actually, took me into a lot of, should I say, a self-interrogation. And what really happened is, redefinement of my research. I moved away from IKS, not to actually, abandon it, but actually to study and read and sort of assimilate it and practice it. But what I did is, I read around all of the spiritual masters and this one. I have two people here. One, all of us know, Swami Vivekananda. I'm quoting his last, part of his address, Parliament of Religions. If anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and the destruction of the other, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension. So all these are sort of giving, trigger where I should sort of try to focus myself as part of my spiritual path. And the person on the right is my warden sir once upon a time, B.N. Narasimhamurthy sir. And he's a Tyagajivi. Tyagajivi, actually, it's a concept in the Dakshina Kannada. There's a very important personality. There was Madhyal Narayan Bhatt. He actually brought about some free educational institutions in Alike and Mudanahalli. Mudanahalli is where it's on the Bangalore highway, and Alike is in the Dakshina Kannada. So he was affiliated with that. And then he gave a very beautiful term called realization of God and welfare of the world. That is all your concept should be, right? Don't divert here and there. That's the thing. Then from there, I reworked on my entire thing. So first, what I did, how to pursue the spiritual purity, how did I operationalize? I started giving voice to the voiceless, or I attempted to, right? So my research students and we sort of started working on the gig workers, the people involved in dirty work, and of course the stigmatized occupations. All this, we started to sort of give, our journal, our paper as a platform for that voice. Did anyone's life change? No one, or maybe only Surya's changed. But at least we're trying to sort of give, engage with issues that really sort of matters. And this is what it is. So there are a few papers, and we also sort of, spoke about something called blue collar expatriates. People during the COVID time who actually came here in Kerala. We are in Kerala. Many people actually go into Gulf, and all these people are suddenly, on the streets because they're coming back. There is no job. There is COVID. So giving voice to these people through our academic research is one way. we try to sort of practice spirituality. Second one is about, a labor of love for the nation. We sort of collaborated with NCRT and we sort of wrote a few of this, Chanda Mama stories as part of Chandrayaan, mission. And these are a few things that I sort of came up. Me, two of my colleagues, Professor Sridhar and Professor Saparia. So we actually wrote. And then we wrote to the minister or the ministry that we do not want a single pie for this. We don't need any money. This is a pure labor of love for the nation. Kindly do not diminish it, putting some value to this. I realized that the moment you stop putting a price to your job, it becomes priceless. So that is one more thing sort of we try to sort of bring this. Second, we tried to depressurize doctoral student. I will really tell the story here without taking the name. We had a doctoral student. She was one of the brightest, sort of candidates here. And then suddenly life hit her. How did life hit her? Unfortunately, her personal life went completely haywire. She went through a very bitter divorce, absolutely health, problems. Husband has abandoned her. And the point is there are institutional mechanisms that sort of tells that, in 5 years you have to complete the PhD or else you will be sort of disrecognized. The institute is right in its own place, right? But the point is that is where the human beings come to interpret the policies. Me and a few of my colleagues actually stood with the doctoral student, reinterpreted the rules, sort of argued with every chairperson possible, and we ensured that finally she graduated. It took 10 years for her, and you should know she has no publication from her thesis. But that is one of the biggest sort of achievements for all of us. At least this person today has some job, where her life force is sort of, taken care. So 10 years. I remember calling her up one fine day, just to discuss this. And she said, sir, I'm just changing my home from the 3 BHK apartment in Bangalore to a 1 BHK in Marathali. So can we have a conversation later? So that sort of hit me. How can we expect anybody to focus on research or PhD if life is everywhere? So this is so depressurized doctoral students is another way we try to sort of, live spiritually. And then this is facilitating education for the needy students. This is beyond institute, but this is, me and my brother. We try to sort of put an award or a financial reward for the best possible student who is passing out from a school in Bhubaneswar, Sri Satyasai Anandam. It's a school that gives completely free education to orphanages. And the definition of orphan is very simple there. It is not the people who do not have parents. It is people who do not have parental love. So there may be parents, but they might be, in jail, or they might be, doing work that is stigmatized. So they are not available. So these are the people, one of our alumni actually sort of giving free education. So we constituted an award to sort of motivate and also financially sort of, prolong the education of the best performer in the school. So I'll be happy to tell for the last 3-4 years, everybody is passing more than 70% in the CBSE examination. Everything. So yeah, but then this is something I really want to say. And then one fine day in 2019, something happened. 2 killed, 50 injured in clash at the Vedanta's refinery in Lanjigad. It is somewhere in Orissa. Unfortunately, I overheard a few of the students sort of talking. These tribals are always the problem. They're anti-development. They're occupying all the premium land. And then I realized what we have done is we have taken away education or nature away from our classrooms. We have done is we have constructed nice classrooms with amazing ACs, amazing infrastructure, but somehow there is no soul in it. So what I did since 2020, just 2022, I started taking people out of the classrooms. So many of my courses are now conducted outside the formal boundaries of IIM Kozhikode. So for example, last year, if you can see here, this part, I had taken students to Wayanad when there was a landslide. I really wanted them to understand how the organization is taking care of the workers and really what a landslide looks like and how it is very difficult to sort of fire these people or just forget about them because anyway, they're dead. So, you can't just replace them. You can't replace their memory. So this is one thing. I also have designed a course. It is called To the Top, where I take students on a trek. I want to focus on the last picture that is here. I asked, this is a place in Turipani in Chhattisgarh, In this trek, we literally live under a tent. We cook our own food, carry our own backpack. And I asked the students after talking to this kid can't speak. She's just 3 years old. And when I started speaking, her mother came. Her mother just told, even mother can't even speak. I asked the students, do you think this kid can ever get into an IIM? And the students knew no. Although, so the point is, even the best government school in our land does not prepare a student good enough for the best government institution in the country, university in the country. So that is where the equality or inequality is. This is a tribal kid. So trying to sensitize students about the reality of the nation instead of trying to make it all bookish and an intellectual argument. And also, I sort of experimented and took this entire thing to an MDP class. Now, my executives also go along with me to the river by our campus. So my class starts at 5 a.m. in the morning and it ends at 8 a.m. in the morning. And the executives get a chance to look at the river, reflect on their life, reflect on their profession. These are the school teachers, these are the executives, these are my other colleagues in the campus. We walked even, and I tried to make all my colleagues walk everywhere in every city that we visit. In Howrah Bridge, this is under the Howrah Bridge, we have walked 14 kilometers from our hotel, waking up at 4:45 a.m. and trying to see the city and trying to see the beauty of the city and the dirt of the city, and also trying to feel one with the city. So essentially, if I can summarize, the last thing, we're trying to walk from unity to oneness. Unity is a sociological construct where, we pack people and say, we are all united. But oneness is an experiential thing. We have to understand that we are one with nature. And so that is the path. And that is where, Sudarshan Kriya of Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar had obviously helped. And I'm sort of very grateful to him. And that's the final word, the metric, how do you know you are growing spiritually? I'm just borrowing from him. And these are the three things: perception, observation, expression. In perception, how long are you feeling that other people now are responsible for our feeling? If you still feel that other people are responsible for our feeling, maybe we are all still growing. Observation. Am I able to observe and observe for a long time what is happening inside me, the pleasant and unpleasant sensations? In other words, am I less reactive to external stimuli? That is the second way of sort of looking at. And the third, expression. Have I become naturally inclined to lend a hand, or that is show care, or is it still a lot of none of my business? Still a lot of none of my business. That means the oneness has not actually come. So this is the final word from me, and then finally offer it to Krishna and all the present. This is my little way, personal way of practicing spirituality in academic life. But I'm sure your journey will be much richer and much better, if you start putting it. But I just wanted to share with all of you. Thank you very much.
Amazing presentation, amazing details. I'm afraid we already have overshot the time, so there cannot be no more questions. But I will really, from the bottom of my heart, I would like to sincerely thank Professor Ashish Pandey ji, Professor Pati ji, Govind Prabhu ji. I'll just put the spotlight here. To three of you who actually took out time and were so gracious to, and we could organize this event. I know, really there are people who really want to ask so many queries, but that is it. We'll have to stop here. I will just, I posted the link for the MSR India WhatsApp group. Please join that. Please send your, there's a feedback also. You can send your suggestion for future speakers. You can please put in your email address so that you get reminders. I got a helpful suggestion from Raja that please send it on a Google Calendar, so that Sunil, I'll share the email address of these speakers. Okay, so you can ask. You can also post your questions in the MSR India chapter also, so that for the benefit of all people. I want to thank the MSR technical team for supporting and publicizing this event. I want to thank the professors who attended, all the participants, all the students. Thank you so much. Namaskar. Thank you so much. We'll stop here. Thank you, Professor. Thank you.